Hello, hello, welcome in. Today we are doing something kind of different for me, but hopefully it's super educational. We're going to listen to a record that is outside my normal genre and from an artist I haven't listened to since probably her second record or so. We're going to listen to Taylor Swift's 1989 album. And as a rock producer, as a classic rock engineer, I'm curious to see what we can learn from a more modern pop style production like this. This is considered her first all in pop record, I think. So I've got my EQ open, I've got my analyzer open. I'm going to throw on my headphones here. We're going to listen through Taylor Swift's 1989, and we're going to see what we can learn from a modern pop production. So here we go. Opening track, Welcome to New York. Right off the bat, those are some super crispy claps. Really pristine synth sounds there.
Walking through a crowd, the village is aglow. Kaleidoscope of loud heartbeats under coast.
I like the stereo delay on her vocal. Oh, that is a deep synth.
Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. It's a new soundtrack. I could dance.
The placement of her vocals is really interesting. They're moving around quite a bit. Right now they're stereo, band wide. And there's like a lead that pops up in the center.
When we first dropped our bags on apartment floors, took our broken hearts, put them in a drawer.
As low as that sub bass is sitting, I feel like the kick drum still sits below it, like 50, 60 hertz here.
Who you want, boys and girls and girls. Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York.
There's a lot of sibilance on her vocal. You can visibly see it when she says, ooh.
It's a new soundtrack. I could dance to this beat. Forevermore. The lights are so bright, but they never blind me. Welcome to New York.
Oh,
It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Like any great love, it keeps you guessing. Like any real love, it's ever
it's a long delay on her
changing.
vocal up the center.
Like any true love, it drives you crazy, but you know you wouldn't change anything, anything. Welcome to
That was a nice transition off the soft vocal ending.
Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York. It's a new soundtrack. I could dance to this beat. The lights are so bright, but they never blind me. Welcome to New York soundtrack. It's been waiting for you. Welcome to New York. The lights are so bright.
There's a lower harmony in there too, it feels like.
Welcome to New York, so bright. They never
I don't think I noticed that earlier.
Welcome to New York. Welcome to New York.
The vocal placement, depth-wise and effects-wise, is really interesting. They got these snare, like, clap sounds really crisp.
I could show you incredible things. Magic,
Kick sits in that same spot, I feel like 60, 70 hertz here.
Oh my God.
So a
Look at
deep
that
kick drum.
face. You look like my next mistake. Love's a game, wanna play. New money, suit and tie. I can read you like a magazine. Ain't it funny? Rumors
It's an interesting
fly.
effect going on
And I
with
know you heard about
the
me,
drum
so
beat.
hey, let's be friends. I'm dying to see how this one
feels like it's like a
ends. Grab
verb
your
pan to the right.
and my hand.
Or to the left.
I can make the bad guys good for a weekend. So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You can tell me when it's over. If
They
the
surprisingly
high was
keep
worth
a lot
the
of lead
pain.
parts
Go on, let's Starbucks
like
lovers.
panned
They'll
wide
tell you
during the
I'm
chorus, because it feels like
insane. 'Cause you know I love the players, and you love the game. 'Cause
some
we
gang
young
vocals
and
there, kind of nice.
reckless. We'll take this way too far. It'll leave you breathless, or with a nasty scar. Go on, let's Starbucks lovers. They'll tell you I'm insane, but I've got a blank space,
Oh.
baby, and I'll write your name.
That was cool to have a vocal that came up front for the end of the chorus there, but they keep her vocal very wide
Lips,
feeling.
crystal skies, I could show you incredible things. Stolen kisses, pretty lies. You're the king, baby, I'm your
Now it's
queen.
alternating,
Find
which is
out
cool.
what you want.
Center.
Be that girl for a month. Wait, the worst is yet to come. Oh no, screaming, crying, perfect storms.
Now it's
I
both.
can
We got a
make
lead
all the
vocal and we got
tables
some
turn. Rose garden filled
kinda
with
gang vocals.
thorns. Keep you second guessing like, oh my god, who is she? I get drunk on jealousy, but you come back each time you leave. 'Cause darling, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream. So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You can tell me when it's over.
It feels like they're keeping her lead vocal drier than the background. It feels like they got the effects more on the wide pan vocals. It's kind of neat to keep her lead up front.
And you love the game. 'Cause we're young and reckless. We'll take this way too far. It'll leave you breathless, or with a nasty scar. Go on, let's Starbucks lovers. They'll tell you I'm insane, but I've got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.
There's that
Boys only
dry vocal
want
again.
love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya.
That's a nice harmony part there.
Boys only want love if it's torture. Don't say I didn't warn ya. So it's gonna be forever.
We got a high one coming in at the end there. Very nice.
You can tell me when it's over. If the high was worth the pain. Go on, let's Starbucks lovers. They'll tell you I'm insane. 'Cause you know I love the players, and you love the game. 'Cause we're young and reckless. We'll take this way too far. It'll leave you breathless, or with a nasty scar. Go on, let's Starbucks
For how mid-rangey that ad-lib vocal is, it's not harsh at all.
I got a blank space, baby, and I'll write your name.
Even that dry one that comes up front, it's very mid-rangey feeling. I feel like it sits in a lot of this kind of 500 to maybe like 2 or 3K area, but it's never pokey or harsh. That same kind of deep kick sample.
Midnight, you come and pick me up, no headlights.
Her vocal feels smaller on this song.
Long drive could end in burning flames or paradise.
I like that like affected piano pad thing that's
Fade into view. Oh, it's been a while since I have even heard from you.
kind of really cool.
Heard from you. I should just tell you to leave, 'cause I know exactly where it leads, but I watch us go.
Nice
round
chords
and
there.
round each time. You got that James
Oh,
Dean
an electric
stare,
guitar.
look in your eye.
For like one bar.
Red lip, classic thing that you like. And when we go crashing down, we come back every time. 'Cause we never go out of style. We never go out of style. You got that long hair, slicked back, white t-shirt. And I got that good girl fade and it's tight little skirt.
I like that high string part that kind of faded in there.
So it goes.
That was a nice way to kind of end the chorus. That high verb vocal that came in. That was a cool transition. Her vocal is the thing that dominates pretty much everything above the mid-range, or everything above the low end, it feels like. Living right here.
He says what you heard is true, but I can't stop thinking about you and I said I've been there too a few times. 'Cause you got that James.
The panning on the harmonies there was kind of interesting. They were both panned like slightly off to the center. That was interesting. I like that. That's hooky. All of her vocals blend really, really well. Whether it's a double or harmonies, and no matter where they're panned, they all blend really well. Kind of doesn't matter what effects on them either. If they're dry, if they're verbed out, if they're delayed, they just blend into one package. A lot of nice little ear candy with her vocal there in that song. But the synth production on all of these songs so far. Oh. Percussion's sitting lower on this song. It's in the mid-range.
Looking at it now, it all seems so simple.
But like electric toms are... Those are beefy. They're sitting right here around 80 and 70. And that's the main thing driving this song, besides her vocal.
The rest of the world was black and white, but we were in screaming color.
Is it like a harpsichord buried back there?
And I remember thinking, are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods? Are we in the clear yet? Are we in the clear yet?
Feels like that same kick drum is buried under there. Sitting around 50. Very low end heavy at the end of that chorus. It was literally like a slope downwards from the bottom end.
We were built to fall apart, then fall back together.
I like the way her vocal sits over the tom-tom.
Hanging from my neck, the night we couldn't quite forget when we decided to move the furniture so we could dance, baby, like we stood a chance. Two paper airplanes.
It feels like the low synths are like being doubled by that tom part. That's really interesting. Right here, it looks like it just slows down. They really keep her vocal big sounding, whether it's in the center or band wide. That was nice.
You were looking at me. I remember.
A male vocal. Everything is so wide on all of these songs so far. Her vocals, the synths, even the drums, that whatever snare sample or clap sample they have is wide.
People like you always want back the love they gave away.
And if her vocal is up the center, there's these wide effects on it. That delay that comes off of it goes wide.
The less I know, all I know is that you drove us off the road. Hey, all you had to do was stay, had me in the palm of your hand. Then why'd you have to go and lock me out when I let you in? Hey, now you say you want it back, now that it's just too late. Well, could have been easy. All you had to do was, 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 all you had to do was stay.
That was kind of cool. They take the last word of the choruses and they're like an octave up really high. Breaks up the monotony of her vocal a little bit.
But people like me are gone forever when you say goodbye. Hey, all you had to do was stay, have me in the palm of your hand. Then why'd you have to go and lock me out when I let you in? Hey, now you say you want it back, now that it's just too late.
This is cool. The way they flip the chorus. Now it's back. That pre-chorus though, where they brought that high vocal to start each phrase, that was neat.
Not like this. Not like this. All you had to do was, hey, all you had to do was stay, have me in the palm of your hand.
They make you anticipate that high vocal part.
When I let you in, hey, now you say you want it back. Now
Like you want it to happen there.
could have been easy. All you had to do was, hey, all you had to do was stay, have me in the palm of your hand. Then why'd you
Like a
have to
double
go
pre-chorus
and
here.
lock me out when I let you in? Hey, now you say you want it back, now that it's just too late. All you had to do was easy. All you had to do was, all you had to do was, all you had to do was, all you had to do was.
I like that one a little bit better than everything else so far. It felt less formulaic. Especially that way they flip that chorus the second time
I
around.
say I'm too late.
Made you anticipate that high note.
Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I go on too many dates.
Kick drum's sitting higher here. It's like at 80.
At least that's what people say.
That's more of a rock kick drum there.
That's what people say. But I keep cruising. Can't stop, won't stop moving. It's
Got
like
these pads
I got
coming
this
in.
music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright. 'Cause the player's gonna play, 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 play.
There's her wide vocals, the wide synth. They've got like a double or a slap on her vocal. The bass slide's kind of neat. There's like a clicky sound. Counter melody with the horn parts is kind of neat. The high verb vocal. The horns feel a little bit wider now. The backgrounds.
My ex-man brought his new girlfriend. She's like, oh my god, but I'm just gonna shake into the fella over there with the
I liked the distorted vocal there after the chorus.
Shake, shake. Yeah. 'Cause the player's gonna play. And the haters gonna hate.
They keep her vocal very mid-range.
Shake, 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 shake. I shake it up, I shake it up.
Yeah, you can see those low synths are sitting below the kick drum on this song. That one was a little bit different. I like the way it started with the higher kick drum and her vocal up the center. That was different. I liked it. Clean electric guitar part.
It's 2 a.m. in your car. Windows down, you pass my street, the memories start.
Can't really pick out the fundamental on this kick drum.
You drive straight ahead.
It's like flat from 50 to 100.
I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. I wish you knew that I'll never forget you as long as I live. I wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would. It's 2 a.m. in my room.
The electric guitar part's really playful. The way it kind of sits in one speaker. They got the verb pan in the opposite.
In a straight line down, makes you wanna run and hide, then it makes you turn right back around. I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. I wish you knew that I'll never forget you as long as I live. I wish you were right here, right now.
Sounds like a different kick drum that comes into the chorus.
I wish we could go back and remember what we were fighting for. Wish you knew that I miss you too much to be mad anymore. Wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would.
Her vocals always sing stereo. I feel like I lose them sometimes. Everything's just so big and panned out wide. There's that high one tucked underneath.
2 a.m. Here we are, See your face, hear my voice in the dark.
Like,
We'll cook it love.
her vocal up the center like that is way easier to latch onto and focus on than that, I feel like.
Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. I wish you knew that I'd never forget you as long as I live. And I wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would come back. Wish I never hung up the phone like I did. I wish you knew that I'd never
They like
forget you as long as I
crank
live.
that snare head just for that one re-entrance.
It's all good. I wish we could go back and remember what we were fighting for. Wish you knew that I miss you too much to be mad anymore. Wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would. You always knew how to push my buttons. You give me everything and nothing. This mad love makes you come running. Stand back, race to it. I wish you would. I wish you would. I wish you
Lots of
would.
layers on her vocal here. That kick drum like creeps way up into the low mids there.
'Cause baby, now we got bad blood.
Look where her vocal's sitting. This is kind of cool.
So take a look what you've done. 'Cause baby, now we got bad.
Very mid-range. It slopes off about 5K there.
And I don't think we can solve 'em. You made a really deep cut. And baby, now we got bad blood. Did you have to do this? I was thinking that you could be trusted. Did you have to ruin what was shining?
The low vocal up the center is very, very classic. I like that.
Where I'm weak, baby, I couldn't breathe and rub it in so deep.
Then having the higher harmonies out wide.
Oh, it's so sad to think about the good times, you and I. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be bad love. So take a look what you've done.
Oh, the 808 sliding down.
Now we got problems, and I don't think we can solve 'em. You made a really deep cut, and baby, now we got bad blood. Did you think we'd be fine? Still got scars on my back from your night.
The pad in the background is very sweet. I wish that was a little bit higher maybe, but it sits perfectly under her vocals because her vocals are very big.
To you and time can heal, but this won't. So if you're coming my way, just don't. Oh, it's so sad to think about the good times.
I feel like there's some focus in the center on that low synth, but it does still feel wide.
You know it used to be bad love. So take a look what you've done.
I like the 808 sliding down.
Now we got problems, and I don't think we can solve 'em. You made a really deep
Because the kick is sitting higher again on this song, around 80.
Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes. You say sorry just for show. If you live
She say
like
Band-Aids
that,
don't
you live
fix
with
bullet holes.
Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes.
She
You
did.
say sorry just for show. If you live like that, you live with ghosts. If you love like that, blood runs. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. You know it used to be bad love. So take a look what you've done.
I feel like I've heard that transition a few times now, though. We're going into the final chorus. There's like a swell cut. She hits a high note, and it blends into the final chorus.
And baby, now we got bad blood. Now we got bad blood. You know it used to be bad love. So take a look what you've done. Look what you've done. 'Cause baby, now we got bad blood. Now we got problems, and I don't think we can solve 'em. You made a really deep cut, and baby, now we got bad blood.
Yeah, some of these feel really formulaic. Like I feel like I hit the same transitions in some of these songs. Anything that breaks that up is exactly what these songs need. Couple different kick drums here.
Said, let's get out of this town, drive out of the city,
One that's at 80 with no
away from the
sub.
crowds. I
Then one that's got
thought
sub.
heaven can't help me now.
Like a verb on it.
Nothing lasts forever, but this is gonna take me down. He's so tall and handsome as hell. He's so bad, but he does
There's
it
more
so
air on this
well.
vocal. I
can
like
see
that.
the end as it begins.
You can see it sitting up here, around 8K.
Say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, babe. Red lips and rosy cheeks. Say you'll see me again, even if it's just in your wildest
Feels like there's like a low octave piano tucked under there. That's a neat way to add weight under the bass.
I said no one has to know what we do. His hands are in my hair, his clothes are in my room.
That extra kick drum is a nice way to propel the song forward.
Nothing lasts forever, but this is getting good now.
And they double it with like the
And
tambourine.
handsome as hell. He's so bad, but he does it so well. And when we've had our very last kiss, my last request is, say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset.
Yeah, that low piano
Red
note.
lips and rosy cheeks.
Just on the
Say
ones,
you'll
on the
see me
downbeats.
again, even if it's just in your
Adds so much weight.
Wildest dreams. You'll see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night.
I like her vocal up the center.
Down. Someday when you leave me, I bet these memories follow you around. You see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning it down. Someday when you leave me, I bet these memories follow you around. Say you remember me, standing in a nice dress.
They do the
staring
same
at
transition
sunset,
again.
babe. Red lips and rosy
Where she hits a high note and it
cheeks.
fades
Say
into the
you'll see
final
me
chorus.
again, even if it's just pretend.
Please don't.
Say you'll remember me, standing in a nice dress, staring at the sunset, baby. Red lips and rosy cheeks. Say you'll see me again, even if it's just pretend. Just pretend. Wildest dreams. Wildest dreams. Even if it's just in your wildest dreams. In your wildest dreams.
Her vocal's really smooth up the center like that. But she did it again. There was like a down bridge, break, final chorus with a high ad lib. Acoustic guitar?
Stand there like a ghost.
This is different. I like it.
Rain. She'll open up the door and say, are you insane?
And her vocals up the center. I like it.
Say it's been a long 6 months.
And there's like an electric layered
You were
underneath,
too afraid to tell her what you want.
playing arpeggios.
And that's how it works. That's how you get the girl. And then you say, I want you, but words are for better. I would wait forever and ever. Broke your heart, I'll put it back together.
The big synth.
I would wait forever and ever. And that's how it works. That's how you get the girl. Oh, and that's how it works. That's how you get the girl. Remind her how it used
I definitely much prefer when there's no harmonies that her vocal is up the center like this. I like the way her voice sounds more natural, I guess is the way to say it. Like that chorus wide effect they put on her vocal, even when there's no harmonies. I don't know how I feel about that.
And that's how it works. That's how you lost the girl. And now you say, I want you, but words are for better. I would wait forever and ever and ever. Put it back together. I would wait forever and ever. And that's how it works. That's how you get the girl.
That extra high synth that came in there, oh, it's gone. What a nice little hook to break up the chorus. That's neat.
Remind me how it used to be.
If they do it again.
Pictures in frames of kisses on cheeks. And say you want me. Yeah. And then you say, I want you. For words are for better. I would wait forever.
Here's our classic final chorus.
Put it back together. I would wait forever and ever. And that's how it works. That's how you get the girl. 'Cause that's how it works.
I love that extra synth though.
That's how you get the girl. That's how it works. And
That's cool.
how it works. That's how you get the girl. And that's how it works. That's how you get the girl. And that's how it works. That's how you got the girl.
Chorus, acoustic was really pretty. And I want something different for a final chorus instead of just the chorus again, but with a high ad lib on it. This is pretty. And different. It's all like low mids here with like a little bit of sparkle.
Clear blue water, high tide came and brought you.
Her vocal sounds great, but I wish it was up the center.
And I could go on and on, on and on, and I will. Skies grew darker.
But it's very pretty.
Winds swept you out again, and you were just
Very
gone,
breathy.
gone, gone.
You can see it up here at like 10K.
Silence screams and wildest dreams. I never dreamed of this. This love is good. This love is bad. This love is a light back from the dead. These hands had to let it go free, and this love came back to me.
The way she said back was incredible. It was so soft.
Tossing, turning, struggled through the night with someone new. Maybe
Oh.
I could go on and on, on and on.
The drums sound great.
Lantern burning, flickered in the night.
There's actually a snare sitting at like 200 hertz.
You were still gone, gone, gone. Losing grip on sinking ships. You showed up just in time. This love is good. This love is bad. This love is alive.
snare sounds unbelievable.
This love left a permanent mark. This love is glowing in the dark. These hands had to let it go free, and this love came back to me.
I like the way she says back. It's so soft, so pretty. I kind of don't mind the stereo vocals on this song. Just the way they're mixed, they sit better. There's more top end to them. I like that song. Very, very pretty, very soft. The difference between her lead vocal kind of being stereo the whole time and then the ad-libs up the center was a nice change.
You stand with your hand on my waistline. It's a scene and we're out here in plain sight. I can hear them whisper as we pass by. Bad sign, something happens when everybody finds out.
Keeping the distorted vocal tucked underneath is a cool effect. It gives this like this bump right here in the mid-range. That's nice. It gives this punch in the mid-range of her vocal.
And we run.
The chord change there was very, very nice. It was unexpected.
Lights flash and we'll run for the fences. Let them say what they want, we won't hear it. Loose lips sink ships all the damn time.
The darker piano sound is interesting, but it gives her vocal space to breathe above it. There's actually a bass line here too. She had some grit on her vocal there. It actually sounds like a bass guitar maybe doubled with a synth.
My love, baby, I know places we won't be found, and they'll be chasing their tails, trying to track us down. 'Cause I know places we can hide.
This feels a little bit more traditional, where her lead vocal isn't just doubled out wide. There's actually lower harmonies there. And I feel like it makes the song feel more full. It doesn't look as scooped here in the mid-range. And that was, oh, That was cool effect at the end. But it was nice to hear a different way to end the song rather than just the chorus again with a high ad lib. Ooh, the way that synth sound is moving around is really nice. Very mid-rangey as well.
The drought was the very worst. When the flowers that we'd
The hi-hat has some crazy high frequencies on it. That's like 20K up
It
there.
was months and months of back and forth.
The stereo delay on her vocal kind of ending on the right gives her lead vocal some depth even when it's in the center. Super low kick drum too. That's like 30 hertz down there. Her vocal and harmony blend really well when they're stacked up the center. They stand out more from the synths. The harmony off to the right is interesting, especially with the synth moving around. Oh, and then the ad-lib off to the left.
Just because you're clean don't mean you don't miss it. Drought was the very worst. When the flowers that we'd grown together.
The way they edited her vocal to let the breaths come through is very sweet. But then we have the same chorus at the end. High ad-lib into the final chorus. Her vocal's still up the center though, which is more focused, I think. Yeah, keeping her vocal up the center makes it easier to focus on. It sits much higher in the mid-range here too.
Think I'm finally clean.
Maybe makes the message of the song hit a little harder too by keeping the vocal more focused in the center.
Flashing lights and we took a wrong turn and we fell down a rabbit hole. You held on tight to me, 'cause nothing's as it seems, and spinning out of control. Didn't they tell us? rush into things? Didn't you flash your green eyes at me? Haven't you heard what becomes of curious minds?
That hits really hard.
Ooh, didn't it all seem new and exciting? I felt your arms twisting around me. I should have slept with one eye open at night. We found Wonderland, you and I
The
got
bass
lost
sliding
in
down.
it, and we pretended it could last forever. We found Wonderland, you and I
Her
got
vocal
lost
looks a
in
little bit
it,
more
and
full range
life
on this song,
was
at least from the
never
mid-range
worse, but
all the way
never
up.
better. In Wonderland,
There's definitely never any bottom end on her vocal though.
in Wonderland, in Wonderland, in Wonderland. So we went on our way, two in love to think straight, all alone or so it seemed.
Yeah, there's more air here too. You can see it jumping
There
up
were
here.
strangers were watching, and whispers turned to talking, and talking's turned to
That's
screams.
all her vocal there.
Oh. Didn't they tell us don't rush into things? Didn't you flash your green eyes at me? Didn't you calm my fears with a Cheshire Cat smile? Ooh, didn't it all seem new and exciting? I felt your arms twisting around me. It's all fun and games till somebody loses their mind. Oh, darling, we found Wonderland. You and I got lost in it, and we pretended it could last forever. We found Wonderland. You and I got lost in it, and life was never worse, but never better.
Having her vocal more up the center, and then only when there's harmonies coming in on the side, gives the track more focus. Like here, just stereo vocals can get lost against the synth, and then that center vocal grabs you.
I reached for you, but you were gone. I knew I had
Synth's
to
kinda
go
like
back
swirling
home.
in the
You
background
searched the
there.
world for something else to make
Oh, the kick
you
feels really
feel
dry
like
there. I
what
feel like
we
it wasn't
had.
the rest of the
And
song.
in the end, in Wonderland, we both went mad. Oh, we found Wonderland. You and I got lost in it, and we pretended it could last forever. We found Wonderland. You and
Too many of these songs have the same final chorus.
never worse, but never better. Never better. We found Wonderland. You and I
I mean, they work, but it doesn't have to be every song.
could last forever. We found Wonderland. You and I got lost in it.
It doesn't hit as hard to me if you know it's coming.
Wonderland.
It's just too predictable. When it swells to a halt, she hits some high note, it falls into the final chorus with a high, that turns into the high ad lib. Whatever that loop is sitting right here, that percussion loop, blends really, really perfectly against that lower synth, because the synth's really dark.
One look, dark room, meant just for you. Time moved.
They're keeping her vocal more breathy and airy, it seems like, on the back half of the record.
On a cold, light-hearted joke.
A lot here.
No proof, not much, but you saw enough. Small talk, he drives, coffee at midnight. The light reflects the chain on your neck. He said,
Her vocal's still very smooth though. Lots of top end here, and even some high mids as well. But it's not harsh, it's not pokey,
you felt
very smooth.
enough. You can hear it in the silence, silence. You can feel it on the way home, way home. You can see
That
it
synth
with
in the background that's kind of hitting those doubles is very catchy. That feels, to me, that feels like the main thing pushing the song forward. That was a different transition, which was cool. It wasn't the bass sliding down. It was something higher pitched that slid across the ears.
His word, and for once you let go of your fears and your ghosts. One step, not much, but it said enough. You kiss on sidewalks.
I like this vocal mix better than her stereo.
One night he wakes, strange look on his face, pauses, then says, "You're mine."
Especially for a female vocal, this feels prettier. It feels more beautiful.
It was, he is in love. You can hear it in the silence, silence. You can feel it on the way home, way home. You can see it with the lights out, lights out.
It's actually not so much top end as sibilants they let come through.
You two are dancing in a snow globe round and round, and he keeps a picture of you in his
They let a
office
lot of her
downtown.
breaths come through.
And you understand now why they lost their minds and fought the wars, and why I've spent my whole life trying to put it into words. 'Cause you can hear it in the silence. You can feel it on the way home.
See, there I feel like it's more top end, not just sibilants.
You could see it with the lights out.
The sibilants doesn't jump way higher.
You're in love, true love. You're in love. You can hear it in the silence.
That jumps way up, I feel like, above the rest of the vocal.
You can feel it on the way home, way home. You can see it with the lights out, lights out.
Yeah, that's just, it feels like they didn't de-ess it enough. Not that there's a lot of air on the stereo ones at least.
You're in love. You can hear it in the silence, silence. You can feel it on the way home.
It's not harsh or anything, though. It's still very smooth.
You can see it with the lights out, lights out. You're in love, true.
The Oz kind of acting as a vocal pad
You're in love.
is a lot of glue for the track. And there was that pad tucked underneath, too. I think this is our final track here.
We're all bored. We're all so tired of everything we wait for. Trains that just aren't
That
coming.
snare is very
Show
full range.
off our different
Fundamentals at like
scarlet
150.
Trust me, mine is better.
So deep.
We're so young, but we're on the road to ruin. We play dumb. We know exactly what we're doing.
Adding verb to the harmony is a good differentiator between the lead, which is darker, yeah, the space and depth on her vocals is very dialed in. Her vocals sit right where they want them to in the depth of the track. Whether they're up front or they sound like they're farther back.
The lights and noise are blinding. We hang back. It's all in the timing. It's poker. You can't see it in my face, but I'm about to play my ace. We need love.
I like the harmony
All we want is danger.
in
We team up. It's
with the long
like
tail on
a
it.
changer. The rumors
On every
are
opening
terrible
line.
and cruel, but honey, most of them are true.
kick drum definitely sits higher than the sub bass on this song. Yeah, that bass is low. The hook is really nice and wide like that. It feels like a part of the instrumentation.
Please take my hand and please take me dancing and please leave me stranded. It's so
Yeah, the air and the top end here is perfect.
Oh, baby, I can build a castle out of all the bricks they threw at me. Every day is like a battle.
That high end lip cuts through a lot better at the end here. It's the only thing happening in the center in terms of vocals. This track feels very full range. It's not scooped in the mids here at all. All right. And that does it for the record. To me, the modern production like that gets a little tiring in the pop production. That's why I feel like I had more of a problem with her vocal being stereo most of the time. Coming from like classic rock or just rock production, having the lead vocal up the center, I feel like gives a track a lot of focus, and it helps you hear the message, whatever the lyrics are, a little bit better. When her vocals are constantly stereo like that, lead vocals, when the lead vocals are constantly stereo in the hook of the song or in the verse of the song, to me they get lost, especially when everything else is wide panned. The bass is wide panned, the synth bass is wide panned, the keyboards, the synth lines, even the guitars are wide panned when they do come in. Her vocals just kind of blend and fade into all of that background noise. So having her lead vocal up the center on some of those songs was a nice change to give some of those tracks focus. That felt more traditional to me, coming from more classic rock music or maybe like indie music, but those pop vocals, oof, all the way off to the side, just blending with those big synths. That was a little bit tiring. And then the repetitiveness of the final choruses, there had to be like over half the songs where they would do a bridge or a down verse, and then it would like swell to a halt. She would hit a high note or come up to a high note, and it would just blend into a final chorus where that was the high ad lib. That happened like, I feel like over 50% of the time. That's just too formulaic to me, and that gets tiring. Something different happening in the final chorus, and not happening on every song, breaks up some of that. So it was nice when something different happened, whether it wasn't just a down verse or a bridge going into the final chorus with the high ad lib. And if there was that high ad lib there, I liked when it was just the high ad lib up the center and not a lead vocal fighting with the high ad lib and then big panned doubles and harmonies and background vocals as well. Everything was very pristine, though. I will say that. That's something about modern pop records I feel like that is notable. Everything is very pristine. It's very smooth. Nothing is harsh, which is very incredible and very mind-blowing for how much stuff is there. All the big synths, the amount of vocal stacks, to have everything be that smooth and not be harsh or hurt your ears at all is incredible. And that is something to note and probably take away from this. As a producer, I feel like that amount of smoothness and pristineness in the vocals, for there being that many vocals, is really, really incredible. The only thing that I think tired my ears, or I wouldn't say hurt my ears, it just got tiring,
hearing her vocals panned and being that big the whole time. Listening to one song makes they hit really hard, but over the whole album, that got tiring. And like I said, it feels like they fade into the instrumentation. But other than that, main takeaways, I like her airy vocal up the center and maybe keeping harmonies panned wide, but not doubles. I like her vocal up the center. It gave me a lot of focus on those songs. And I like when the kick drum moved around as well. The first few songs felt like they had the same kick drum. So I like when the kick drum isn't always in the same place. I liked when there was an actual bass up the center as well. I feel like that gave the song some energy in the center. And then, yeah, the way her vocals sat was really, really nice. Never harsh. They were always very smooth. And I liked when they had more top end to them and it wasn't just sibilant range sitting up on the top. Because other than that, they kept them very mid-rangey to kind of compete against all the synths. Very, very nice record coming from a classic rock background. It's definitely not what I normally listen to, but some good takeaways from listening to something that is more modern and that is outside of my genre. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to go a little bit deeper into the mixing or kind of the production process like this, there's a link in the description for my 7-step music mixing checklist. It will walk you through the entire process for mixing your song from start to finish, take you through all the steps. It's just a simple PDF guide that you can download completely free. That's the link in the video description if you want to check that out. Thank you so much for hanging with me for this video. I know this was a longer one, a little bit different outside my genre. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was insightful for you, and I will see you very, very soon in the next video.